What if I told you the next global conflict won't be fought over oil, but over a resource we take for granted every single day? Freshwater. For decades, global politics focused on energy security. But today, the world's most powerful governments and corporations are locked in a silent, high-stakes battle for control of water supplies. Before you fill your next glass, watch this. We are not just facing environmental challenges, we are seeing the financialization and weaponization of the world's most essential resource. Depletion is happening fast, and the fight for rivers, lakes, and hidden aquifers is quickly moving from negotiation tables to becoming a major security issue. This is the secret war for the world's cleanest water supply, and the outcome will define the 21st century. Stay with us, because we are going deep into the corporate boardrooms and geopolitical hotspots where this silent war is being fought. Freshwater is no longer just a necessity for survival. It is the most valuable strategic asset of our time. Global water use has quadrupled over the past century, driven by industrial expansion and massive agricultural demands. Yet, climate change is making reliable sources dangerously unpredictable. We are talking about a resource depletion crisis that directly threatens international security. This conflict is rarely military. Instead, it's fought through economic pressure, massive infrastructure projects like dams, and corporate maneuvering to control distribution. It is a battle for blue gold, and it is reshaping global power dynamics. As scarcity increases, so does opportunity, at least for those with capital. Large investment funds, private equity firms, and utility conglomerates are actively acquiring rights to aquifers and municipal water systems globally. Water has moved beyond being a public good, it is now a tradable commodity. In fact, water futures, tied to the Nasdaq Veles California Water Index, are now being traded on financial exchanges. Think about that. Speculators are betting on the price of water, profiting directly from human necessity and drought. This is one of the most ethically complex developments in modern finance. When essential resources become financial assets, the priority shifts from public welfare to shareholder profit. This sets the stage for massive corporate influence in areas traditionally managed by governments. Major corporations understand that controlling the supply chain means controlling the price and distribution of life itself. These companies often promise efficiency, but critics argue that privatization of water utilities frequently leads to reduced public investment, poorer maintenance, and increased prices for consumers, especially in vulnerable communities. The rise of these water barons signals a crucial shift in power, away from public accountability and toward corporate profitability. But here's the thing. While corporations battle for ownership, nations are fighting over the source. This is where the tensions truly escalate, starting with Africa's greatest river. For millennia, the Nile has been the lifeblood of Egypt, dictating its agriculture and civilization. Historical treaties and political norms have long recognized Egypt's absolute dependence on the river's steady flow. However, upstream nations are now asserting their own rights to utilize the shared resource for their growing populations and economic development. This dynamic has created one of the most acute geopolitical water crises in the world today. The central point of conflict is the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD. Located on the Blue Nile, this monumental infrastructure project is designed to be Africa's largest hydroelectric power plant. For Ethiopia, GERD is essential to lifting millions out of poverty and fueling rapid industrialization. But downstream, in Sudan and particularly Egypt, this dam represents an existential threat. The concern is simple. If Ethiopia fills the massive reservoir too quickly, or significantly regulates the flow in the future, it could devastate Egyptian agriculture and challenge their national food security. The dispute is not about power, it is about survival. GERD exemplifies how water infrastructure has become a potent tool of statecraft. For Ethiopia, the dam provides regional leverage. It allows them to control a crucial choke point in the Nile system. For Egypt, it shifts power away from them for the first time in history, transforming a long-held national security guarantee into a vulnerability. The core disagreement lies in the timing of the reservoir filling and the rules governing flow regulation during periods of prolonged drought. Diplomats have been in a stalemate for years because neither side can compromise on a resource so fundamental to their future. The strategic scale of this project means every political move is highly scrutinized. Egypt views any unilateral action by Ethiopia as a direct threat, and rhetoric has sometimes bordered on military confrontation. This scenario shows perfectly that water scarcity doesn't just cause droughts, It creates regional instability and forces massive investments in strategic control. If you find these deep dives into corporate strategy and geopolitical maneuvering valuable, please take a moment to subscribe to Legacy Archives. Your support helps us investigate these complex stories. But wait until you see how water tensions escalate when nuclear weapons are involved. We now shift our focus to South Asia, home to another massive water rivalry, the Indus River system. This river is crucial, providing water for over 270 million people in India and Pakistan. The bedrock of cooperation here was the Indus Water Treaty, signed in 1960, which successfully allocated rights to the river's tributaries between the two nations. It has been hailed as a model of resource sharing, surviving several wars. However, that historical agreement is now facing unprecedented strain. Massive population growth combined with the rapid melting of Himalayan glaciers, which feed the Indus, is drastically reducing reliable water flow. As these climate effects worsen, the old rivalries are resurfacing. Both India and Pakistan rely on the Indus for the majority of their agricultural survival. Any perceived threat to the flow is immediately viewed through the lens of national security, making this dispute arguably the most dangerous water conflict on the planet, given the nuclear capabilities of both states. Resource management in the Indus Basin has become deeply integrated into military and political strategy. India, as the upstream nation, has initiated several new hydropower and dam projects, particularly on the western rivers allocated primarily to Pakistan under the treaty. While India states these projects are within treaty limits and necessary for power generation, Pakistan views them with deep suspicion, seeing them as potential levers to restrict water flow during crucial agricultural seasons. The strategic implication is clear: controlling water infrastructure is controlling the economy of your rival. Every diplomatic crisis between New Delhi and Islamabad now includes discussions about water security. If political tensions rise, the ability to potentially limit or disrupt water flow becomes a dangerous political lever, capable of inflicting severe economic damage without firing a shot. Resource management has essentially been weaponized, turning technical arguments over dam height and storage capacity into major international incidents. This high-stakes environment shows us that the battle for water isn't always fought in daylight. Sometimes it happens silently, deep underground. Beyond rivers and reservoirs, the invisible front in this war is underground water, the world's massive aquifers. Multinational corporations, especially those in the food and beverage industry, are securing rights to these hidden sources globally, often without adequate public oversight or regulatory frameworks. They are essentially mining ancient water reserves at an industrial scale, treating them as inexhaustible commodities rather than finite public resources. This extraction often leads to severe conflict with local communities. When a large bottling plant sets up operations, it can draw down the local water table, leaving nearby agricultural wells dry and causing environmental degradation. We have seen countless examples where corporations have faced protests over excessive usage, leading to social disruption and health crises. The problem is that many communities lack the legal or financial power to challenge these global giants, allowing corporate interests to fundamentally reshape the local water landscape for global profit. This gets even better. Drought isn't just a challenge for investors, it's a guaranteed source of income. For institutional investors and hedge funds, water scarcity is viewed not as a risk, but as a guaranteed investment. They invest heavily in municipal water infrastructure and private utility companies, especially in drought-prone or rapidly growing areas. Why? Because water utilities are essentially monopolies. When a community faces drought, demand becomes inelastic. People must buy water, regardless of price. By privatizing these systems, investors turn scarcity into predictable, long-term profit. This dynamic often discourages necessary public investment in maintenance and efficiency upgrades because inefficiency, in a strange way, guarantees future price increases and guaranteed returns. This business model means that the financial health of the utility is often prioritized over the public health of the citizens it serves. As the climate crisis intensifies, so does the guaranteed profitability of these private assets. It's a striking example of capitalism turning a crisis into a core investment strategy. Before we look at the technological response, let me know in the comments, do you believe water should ever be a tradable commodity managed by private companies? Share your thoughts below. Now, let's explore the technological battleground. The crisis has, predictably, spurred a massive technological arms race. Countries and corporations are now investing billions into advanced solutions like large-scale desalination, sophisticated wastewater recycling, and hyper-efficient irrigation systems. Desalination, which turns seawater into drinking water, is a huge global market, especially in the Middle East and arid coastal regions. It offers a potentially unlimited supply, but at a high energy cost. The companies developing these advanced technologies are attracting billions in investment because they offer a path to water independence for high-value markets. This shift represents both hope and another financial opportunity. While these innovations are crucial for managing scarcity, they also further cement water management as a domain requiring massive capital investment, reinforcing the divide between nations and communities that can afford these solutions and those that cannot. We have seen that the war for water is multi-layered, fought between nations over strategic rivers like the Nile and the Indus, and fought between corporations and communities over hidden aquifers. The long-term consequences of these hidden water wars are deeply concerning. Continued scarcity threatens global food security, accelerates large-scale migration, and destabilizes regions already vulnerable to conflict. The control of this resource is defining the new era of global power dynamics. As observers of business and power, it is crucial to understand that resource control is the ultimate leverage. Whether managed by states or privatized by global capital, the power held by those who control the world's water is immense. We must insist on integrated international water governance and demand greater transparency and accountability from the corporations profiting from scarcity. The alternative is a future defined by drought, displacement, and conflict. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the corporate legacies and geopolitical strategies surrounding the world's most critical resource. The future of global stability depends on how we choose to govern this vital asset. If you appreciated this analysis of business power, please hit the like button and subscribe to Legacy Archives for more exclusive stories on how empires are built and fortunes are lost. Check out the suggested video on your screen for another investigation. We release new content weekly. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next archive.